When people imagine the Roman army, they usually picture thousands of disciplined soldiers marching in perfect formation, carrying large shields and wearing heavy armor. But the Roman war machine did not move on soldiers alone. Behind every Roman legion marched an entire world of animals. Creatures that carried supplies, pulled heavy machines, guarded camps, and sometimes even fought alongside the army. Without them, Rome's armies could never have marched across continents or sustained long military campaigns far from home. The Roman Empire expanded across Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. These enormous distances required an army that could move, supply itself, and survive in many different environments. Animals were essential to making that possible. Roman armies traveled with horses, mules, oxen, camels, donkeys, and even dogs. Each of these animals served a different purpose within the complex military system of Rome. Some animals were used directly in warfare, especially horses that carried cavalry soldiers into battle. Others performed the less visible but equally important work of logistics. They carried food, weapons, tents, construction tools, and other supplies that allowed Roman soldiers to live and fight far from their bases. Without these animals, Roman armies would have been slower, weaker, and far less effective. The Roman legion may have been the core of Rome's military power, but the animals that traveled with it made that power possible. They formed an essential part of the vast logistical network that allowed Rome to wage war across the ancient world. Among all the animals used by the Roman army, horses were the most important in battle. While Roman legionaries fought as heavily armed infantry, cavalry units provided speed, mobility, and flexibility on the battlefield. Mounted soldiers could move far faster than infantry and were able to perform tasks that the legions could not easily accomplish. Cavalry was used for reconnaissance, scouting enemy movements, protecting the flanks of the Roman battle line, and pursuing enemies after a victory. Many of these cavalry units were part of the auxiliary forces rather than the legions themselves. Rome recruited horsemen from regions where riding and mounted warfare were already part of the local culture. Germanic warriors, Thracians, and Iberian riders were particularly valued for their skill with horses. Their experience allowed them to perform complex cavalry maneuvers that supported the heavy infantry formations of the Roman legions. In some parts of the empire, another animal proved extremely valuable: the camel. Camels were especially useful in the eastern and desert provinces of the Roman world, including Syria, Arabia, and parts of Egypt. Roman camel units, known as dromedari, were adapted for desert warfare. Unlike horses, camels could travel long distances without water and could carry supplies across harsh environments where other animals struggled. They were often used for desert patrols, long-distance reconnaissance, and guarding trade routes that crossed arid landscapes. Together, horses and camels gave the Roman army the ability to operate across an enormous range of terrain, from European forests to Middle Eastern deserts. If horses provided speed and mobility, other animals supported something even more important for the Roman army: logistics. The Roman military was famous not only for its battlefield discipline, but also for its extraordinary ability to move and supply large armies. Campaigns often lasted for months or even years, and soldiers required constant supplies of food, equipment, and building materials. Mules were the most important transport animals in the Roman army. They carried large amounts of equipment, including spare weapons, cooking tools, tents, and engineering equipment used to construct marching camps and fortifications. Roman soldiers themselves carried part of their equipment, especially after the military reforms associated with Gaius Marius. Because of this heavy load, Roman legionaries were sometimes nicknamed Marius's mules. Even so, real mules remained essential for transporting heavier supplies that soldiers could not carry themselves. Donkeys were also used for transport, especially for lighter loads within supply columns or inside military camps. Although smaller than mules, They were reliable animals capable of traveling long distances while carrying moderate weight. For the heaviest tasks, the Roman army relied on oxen. Oxen were powerful animals capable of pulling extremely heavy wagons loaded with grain, equipment, and sometimes even parts of siege engines. They moved slowly, but could pull massive loads across difficult terrain. Without these animals, the Roman army's famous logistical system would have collapsed. Food, equipment, and supplies simply could not have moved with the army across the vast distances of the Roman Empire. While many animals supported the Roman army by transporting supplies or carrying soldiers into battle, some served a completely different purpose. Dogs were used primarily for security and protection. Roman military camps could contain thousands of soldiers, along with large quantities of weapons, equipment, and food supplies. Protecting these camps from surprise attacks, thieves, or infiltrators was extremely important. Guard dogs helped soldiers perform this task. Their sharp senses allowed them to detect movement or unfamiliar individuals approaching the camp, especially during the night. In an era before advanced lighting or alarm systems, animals such as dogs could provide early warning that danger was approaching. Dogs were also used during patrols and could accompany soldiers moving through forests or frontier regions. Their ability to sense threats made them valuable companions for soldiers operating in unfamiliar territory. When we examine the Roman army as a whole, it becomes clear that animals were far more than simple tools. They provided transportation, security, mobility, and logistical support. Together with the discipline of the Roman legions and the flexibility of the auxiliary forces, these animals helped create one of the most effective military systems in the ancient world. The Roman army was not only a force of soldiers, it was a vast moving network of people, animals, supplies, and organization that allowed Rome to maintain its power across 3 continents. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and a comment. Subscribe for more true stories from history. Your support helps this channel grow.